This is Melissa Moore from Melissa Makes Quilts. And today we're making a quilt, but it's not a big quilt. We're making a little teeny tiny quilt to go on the Christmas tree. It's going to be a Christmas ornament. So let's get started. You're gonna need one piece of fabric. It could be a little scrap. Find us a fabric with a very cute print. Something that's gonna look so festive and jolly when it's up on the tree. You can use a charm pack because a charm pack has 2.5-inch squares already cut out, and you could find the fabric that you want to use and see which fabric would make a cute quilt. I'm going to use this, but I'm going to cut it down to a 2.5-inch size. It doesn't have to be any specific size, but I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to use my see-through ruler so I can see where I want to place this cutout, where on the fabric. I'll slide it around, I'll find the best spot, I'll cut it out, and we'll get started. I've cut out my square here, my fabric square, and I liked it so much I went ahead and cut out another fabric square. So I have 2 different quilt ornaments that I'm going to make right here. And what you need to do is get a little piece of scrap batting. I have batting just left over from when I quilt my quilts. And if you just save a little bit of your batting, you can have it on hand for projects such as this. So we're going to make sure that we put this quilt square right in the middle of our batting. I'm making 2, so I'm going to do a second one. I'm going to just stick this right in the middle of the batting here. And then you need the backing. This is just like a quilt. We're basically making a miniature quilt. So I have my backing fabric right here. I like when I make a quilt, I typically have the smallest is the quilt top, and then the quilt batting is a little bigger, and the backing is a little bigger than that. So here we go. It's like a sandwich, a quilt sandwich. We're going to do the same with this. I have my quilt top, I have the batting, I just need this backing. So let's put the backing underneath. And then just like a quilt, we need to quilt this. We need to put some stitches through all 3 layers to hold them together. So while I'm quilting it, I'm going to try to just hold it together. I have a big clippy pin to hold it steady. And if you don't have a clippy pin, it's really easy to just use a sewing pin. I'm going to go ahead and put the sewing pin through. There we go. It's nice and stable. I'm going to do the other one. I'm going to put some sewing pins right through here. And then I'll head over to the sewing machine. And I might do a swirl. I might do some lines or a cross grid. I might just do a big heart, a stitch of heart through all 3 layers. I'll go to my sewing machine and decide what to do. I'm back from the sewing machine, and look how cute that is. I know I said that I might do a swirl stitch pattern, or I might do some kind of I don't know, a heart, but man, this looks like a quilt. I did a grid on this first one, and I just thought that's a quilt because quilts have little squares. There's the back. Here's my other ornament that I'm making. I did the same thing. I just did the grid. I did a 1/4 inch. Every line is a 1/4 inch apart. I went one way and then I turned it sideways and went the other direction. I used the edge of my foot because my foot is a 1/4 inch. So it was very easy to just keep that grid nice and even. And now I'm going to cut this out. Now, because these are so tiny, I'm not going to cut it right on the edge. If I was making a real quilt, I would trim all 3 layers right along the actual edge of the quilt. I'm actually going to extend it out 1/8 of an inch so it's a little bit wider, just because working with tiny things is just so tricky and fussy. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put this over here, get my ruler, and just extend it here 1/8 of an inch. Make my cut. Flip it around. Let's see. That looks right. Look, it's cute as is, even without binding. If I wanted to, I could stitch along the edge and just stabilize this, and it's so cute. I'm going to add binding and see what I think with binding on one of them, and if I like it, then I'll add binding to both. Let's trim this one up. We're going to extend it 1/8 inch beyond the edge. These are darling. I might just want to keep going and make a lot of these. Can you imagine a whole tree decorated with these? If you love quilts, you love quilts. Any size, right? All right, spin this around. Oh, these are so cute. I made a quilt with these fabrics, I want to say a year ago, 2 years ago. And I just still love these fabrics. I don't even remember what they're called. I'll have to look it up. Let's see, whoops. Here we go. Oh, look how cute. Okay, I mean, seriously, you could just sew a little ribbon on here and hang these on the tree as is. You could make this into some kind of a tag, or man, you could do so much with these. You could attach earring hooks. You could have holiday quilted earrings. So many possibilities. I'm going to go ahead and grab my binding material. Wait right here. I have my binding strips cut for the binding around the edges. My binding strips are 1.5 inches wide. I have two, one for each of these little quilt tops. You only need one if you're just making one little quilt top. Now, usually with a quilt binding, I'll make it wider. Usually I'll have a 2.5 inch wide binding strip, sometimes 2.25, but these are so tiny. That would be impossible to work with. Usually with a binding, I'll fold it in half, and it'll be like a double thickness. Once again, these are so tiny. That would be such a pain. So I just did 1.5 inches wide, and I'm gonna sew both sides. You could always hand stitch a binding, but this is so tiny. I'm just gonna machine stitch it. So I will start on the front. Nope, I will start on the back, and then I will move to the front. So I'm going to line up the right side of this binding right here. This is the same as if you were doing a big quilt. I'm going to start on this side, but I'm going to start very close to the end here. We're just going to come right here. I'm going to be 1/4 inch in. I'm going to stitch to the edge, and right when I get about 1/4 inch from the edge, I'm going to stop and then go straight out to the corner like that. So I'll stitch a little bit here and then straight out to the corner. Take my needle out and just fold this up. I'll fold this up, and then I'll bring it back down like this. So So see how it's folded up and back down. I'll make sure this is straight along the edge, and I will just keep stitching right here along the edge until I get a 1/4 inch from the corner. I'll stop a 1/4 inch from the corner, turn and stitch straight out to the corner and take my needle out. And then I will take this and I will fold this side up like this, leave it here and fold this back down just like this. This edge should be flat. This edge is still like this underneath. Make sure this edge meets the bottom edge. And once again, I'll just stick this in the machine and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way down until I get a 1/4 inch from the end. And then I'll turn and go to the corner. Take my needle out, take this out. We'll do this, our final corner. We'll fold this up, keep it right there, bend it back down so that this matches right here. And we're just going to stitch about here, just a teeny bit, back stitch, and then take it out of the machine. And that will leave us with 2 loose ends. I will cut this a little shorter so that I can work with these together, and I will show you what that looks like. So here I go. Let's get this binding put on. It's very much like a regular quilt binding if you're familiar with that. All right, I have sewn the binding all the way around. Remember, because this binding is so narrow, it's only 1.5 inches, I didn't fold it. I just sewed the whole thing right sides together to the backing fabric of my mini quilt. So at the very end, I have these 2 pieces that I need to sew together. So I lay them flat right how they meet, and I finger press them both directions just so I can get a little sewing line. I finger press it this way. I'm just pushing down on that seam, and now I have a little line. I'm going to sew right across this line so I can combine these to hold it in place while I'm stitching. I'm just going to pin. And I'm going to go stitch this right across here on my machine. I'll be right back. I'm back. I've connected right here the 2 ends to this binding on both of my ornaments. My next step is going to be to just sew right along here, because this binding is now connected all the way around except for right here. Same with this one. I'm going to sew right along here because the binding is connected all the way around except for this one spot. So I'll finish this spot and I'll be right back. Okay, it's sewn on all the way around. This is the front of my quilt, and this is the exciting part. Are you ready? Here we go. Here we go. I get to flip this around. Look at the back. Look at those corners. I flipped it all around, and now we just pin it to the front. Now, because this is a raw edge, we're just going to manually turn it under. We'll just make sure this edge goes in all the way. And we'll get our little clippies and we'll clip it to hold it all the way around. We just fold and clip. The corners, we can clip those too. Keep them in place until we get there. You just kind of tuck it under. And clip. Tuck it under. And clip. This is going to be so cute. I can't wait to finish. I can't wait to hang this on the tree. There we go. Just fold this one under. All right. I'm just gonna sew all the way around on the top here. And then we just add the little loop, the little ribbon to hang it on the tree. Our final steps. Here they are. Look, they're so cute. Here's the front. Here's the back. I love the stitching, the grid stitching. It really looks like a quilt. The only thing that I have left is to take some ribbon. I picked a really narrow, skinny ribbon. This is skinnier than 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to just cut a loop. I'll just cut some ribbon here, make a loop, and I'll sew it on the back. I'll just stitch right across these. I'll show you. I'll stitch right here and cut off the extra so this can hang from my Christmas tree. And I'm probably going to want to make the loop a little larger because Christmas tree branches are prickly and it's easier to get it over the branch if you have a little leadway. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sew right here, cut this off, and hang it. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you can see more of my videos and find me again next time, quilty friends.